All right, we're jumping back into our reading. If you are just coming or just joining here, or if you are just seeing the YouTube, we are releasing one chapter each day leading up till Christmas. There are 24 days before Christmas. There are 24 chapters in Luke, so we're releasing one chapter each day so that we might know the reason for the season. Christmas season's not about elves on shelves or reindeers or a fat man in a red suit. It is about our one and true and only salvation, and that is Jesus Christ. Thank you for the prayers, Coleslaw. I appreciate it. Luke chapter 23, we're reading from the English Standard Version, 23 verse 1. Words hard. Then the whole company of them arose and brought him before Pilate. They began to accuse him, saying, "We found this man misleading our nation, forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar, and saying that he himself is Christ, a king." And Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered, "You have said so." Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no guilt in this man." But they were urgent, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee even to this place." And when Pilate heard this, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. And when he learned that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him over to Herod, who was himself in Jerusalem at that time. When Herod saw Jesus, he was very glad, for he had long desired to see him, because he had heard about him, and he was hoping to see some sign done by him. So he questioned him at some length, but he made no answer. The chief priests and the scribes stood by, vehemently accusing him, and Herod, with his soldiers, treated him with contempt and mocked him. Then, arraying him in splendid clothing, he sent him back to Pilate. And Herod and Pilate became friends with each other that very day, for before this they had been in enmity with each other. Pilate then called together the chief priests and the rulers of the people and said to them, "You brought me this man as one who was misleading the people. And after examining him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of the charges against him. Neither did Herod, for he sent him back to us. Look, nothing deserving death has been done by him. I will therefore punish and release him." But they all cried, "Away with this man, and release to us Barabbas," a man who had been thrown in prison for insurrection started in the city and for murder. Pilate addressed them once more, desiring to release Jesus. But they kept shouting, "Crucify, crucify him." Or if I remember remember from Passion, it's "Ixaible, Ixaible." Third time he said to them, "Why? What evil has he done? I have found in him no guilt deserving death. I will therefore punish and release him." But they were urgent, demanding with loud cries that he should be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So Pilate decided that their demands should be granted. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, for whom they asked, but he delivered Jesus over to their will. And as they led him away, they seized one Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, and laid on him the cross to carry it behind Jesus. And there followed him a great multitude of the people, of women who were mourning and lamenting for him. But turning to them, Jesus said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed. Then they will begin to say, The mountains fall on us, and to the hills cover us. For if they do these things when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry?" Two others, who were criminals, were led away to be put to death with him. And when they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified him. And the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they cast lots to divide his garments. And the people stood by, watching. But the rulers scoffed at him, saying, He saved others. Let him save himself. If he is the Christ of God, his chosen. The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine, and saying, If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. There was also an inscription over him, This is the King of the Jews. One of the criminals who were hanged rallied at him, saying, Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the other rebuked him, saying, Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due rewards of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong. And he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said to him, Truly I say to you today, that you will be with me in paradise. It was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And while the sun's light faded, the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, calling out in a loud voice, said, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. Having said this, he breathed his last. Now when the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God, saying, Certainly this man was innocent. And all the crowds that assembled for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, returned home beating their breasts. And all his acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching these things. I'm going to take a second. I'm going to break away. I'm going to go into a short rabbit trail. Verse 44. It was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. I remember one of the things that ended up happening, I think it was this year. Was the eclipse. And we were in the path of the full eclipse. And that's how it happened. That's the only way that I can describe it. All of a sudden, it goes from daylight to nighttime. Street lights turned on. You could see the stars in the sky. And it said in the other gospels, it talks about how the thunderclouds rolled in. So I can imagine if it was an eclipse and the clouds were there, it would have been pitch black. Because they didn't have any street lights. They had torches. And the wind and blowing the torches out. The centurion, I can imagine the centurion standing there and just watching all of this. I can imagine like what he would be saying is, this man had to have been innocent. Surely this man was the Son of God. Because I only saw the eclipse for 15 minutes, and this said that it lasted for 3 hours. And the thing is, this is not just a biblical record. You can actually find this if you go into the early Chinese records, because the Chinese were very, very much into astrology and the study, or astronomy, yeah, astronomy, of the study of the heavens. And there are extra biblical records that show that at this time there was an eclipse. The sun was darkened. There was one Chinese historian that said, and I can't pull up the stuff here because I'm not for sure exactly where it is, but I could definitely find it if anybody's curious. That even the Chinese said that on this day a holy man died. It's actually to imagine, and that's the only thing we can do in this position, is we can imagine. But this had to have been a powerful time. This had to have been signs and wonders in the heavens. It was a day that the whole world grieved. Moving on. Verse 50. Now there was a man named Joseph in the Jewish town of Arimathea. He was a member of the council, a good and righteous man who had not consented to their decision and action, and he was looking for the kingdom of God. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. He took it down and wrapped it in a linen shroud and laid him in a tomb cut in stone where no one had ever yet been laid. It was the day of preparation, and the Sabbath was beginning. The women who had come with him from Galilee followed and saw the tomb and how his body was laid. And then they returned and prepared spices and ointments. On the Sabbath day they rested according to the commandment. But, dare I say, Sunday was coming. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this, we'll see you tomorrow with the next chapter. I appreciate if you found this to be a blessing or encouraging. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you tomorrow.